So President Trump is not a smart man. He's not a very stable genius. We already know this. We also know that he's not intellectually curious in any way and rejects things that are contrary to his long-standing beliefs. A great example of that is climate change and climate science. And of course, one of the things that he has famously rejected is science in general. Now, during a morning tweet storm, for example, that coincided, interestingly enough, with a segment on Fox and Friends, which we know the president, from previous disclosures, actually gets his policy ideas from hosts at Fox News. So, for example, a host on Fox News could come out and say something completely off the wall, which is unsurprising, actually, like, oh my God, did you hear Iran stole billions of dollars? Then, most likely, you will hear, or you will see Donald Trump tweeting about it like 5 minutes later. That's what happened here. Now, this segment in question had to do with climate change. And they had on somebody named Patrick Moore. And they identified him as a co-founder of Greenpeace. Now, that's interesting, but we'll get to his comment. He said, while he was on the segment, the whole climate crisis is not only fake news, it's fake science. There's no climate crisis. There's weather and climate all around the world. And in fact, carbon dioxide is the main building block of all life. Now, I think he meant carbon, not carbon dioxide, which is, of course, a gas that we exhale. Well, anyway. Now, Donald Trump took that, he quoted that, put that in a tweet, and then added, wow. Wow, all right. Wow, both he is an idiot, and of course, also including, wow, Patrick Moore is also an idiot and a complete liar. So there's a lot in this story packed into a tweet, and so we're going to unpack that. For starters, Greenpeace says that Mr. Moore is not an environmental expert. Shocking, I know. People like that, making statements like that, don't seem like they're experts. But anyway, according to a Greenpeace statement, they said Patrick Moore often misrepresents himself in the media as an environmental expert or even an environmentalist, while offering anti-environmental opinions on a wide range of issues and taking a distinctly anti-environmental stance. Well, again, shocker, right? Now, he also exploits long-gone ties with Greenpeace to sell himself as a speaker and a pro-corporate spokesperson, usually taking positions that Greenpeace opposes. Weird, right? Oh, it's almost as if he gets paid to pretend that he's a scientist or pretend that he's an expert while doing promoting positions that's really good for the fossil fuel industry. Weird. And yet here's Donald Trump, of course, who believes climate change is a hoax, again affirming to his audience and to his followers that, yes, I believe climate change is fake. And here's the proof. And not only that, but look, there's a snowball. How worried should we be about the future? That's an honest question. How worried? Extremely worried. Extremely. I mean, look, right now you have an anti-science buffoon running the country on behalf of a party that believes that Jesus rode in on a freaking dinosaur and that someday he's going to come back. So we don't have to worry about anything. Make as many messes as you want. Don't clean your room. In fact, take everything dirty that you own. Take a bottle of oil and just dump it on the ground. Just dump it on the ground. That's okay. Jesus is coming back. So nobody cares. Nobody gives a crap. So let's just do it already. That's the modern conservative movement right now. Jesus. And look, they also believe that Trump is the closest thing to the Messiah that we have in this world. We are doomed, folks. If that's not scary, I don't know what it is. I don't know what is. Now, the administration, which, by the way, the Trump administration, that's actually filled with actual real scientists, unlike that guy, right? Unlike the former fake Greenpeace guy, says that we have less than 12 years to turn the ship around before we crash into a not literal iceberg, because guess what? The literal icebergs will all be gone by then. And in response to that report, President Trump says, "Oh, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it." And then he goes a step further. See, saying one thing, spreading this dangerous, notion that, climate change is fake, is one thing. Yes, it is dangerous. Yes, it is problematic, right? But he takes it a step further, as of course he usually does, and proposes a budget that, again, for the second year in a row, decimates science. And I'm going to go and point out a couple of things in that budget. The National Science Foundation, in the proposed 2019 budget, would end up being cut by about $1 billion. That's the National Science Foundation. $1 billion. Gone. The Office of Science's budget would shrink by roughly 17% to $5.5 billion. The department's Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy would shrink by 86% from $2.379 billion to a total budget of $343 million. That's not a shrink. That is... Look, the guy's taking a hatchet to it, the budget. No, not just a hatchet. The guy's got a chainsaw. He's like, ooh, renewable energy? Ooh, yeah, I can't fund that. That goes against my donors in the oil industry. I was supposed to be like a chainsaw. It ended up looking like a machine gun. But anyway, that's what he's doing to the budget right now. And ironically, of course, that is the one thing, research into alternative energies and actually enacting alternative energy, that could actually put a stop to climate change. There's more. The EPA, you're not going to be surprised, that the EPA's budget would shrink by a third from $8.8 billion to $6.1 billion. Its science and technology programs would be funded at a total of about $440 million. That is nearly 40% below the current level. The budget line for air and energy research, which includes climate change science, would drop by about $60 million from about $95 to $32 million. This is a budget that reflects deep ignorance. Deep ignorance. I mean, again, you ask Trump, it's fake. It's a hoax. Fake news. We could use some more of that global warming when it's cold. Where's that global warming? Oh my God. The irony here is, again, we have a president that actually believes in fake news spread out by propagandists from the oil and gas industry who, despite their own findings, ExxonMobil, back in the 80s, knew that climate change was a problem. They turned around and said, you know what's more important to us? Short-term profit. I don't care if I destroy the planet. I don't care if I make the atmosphere uninhabitable to human life. Don't care. You know what? I'm going to make money, and by the time that happens, I'm going to be dead. So I'm just going to make my millions of dollars, billions of dollars. I'm stuffing it in my pocket. I'm going to live like a king while there are countries that will be devastated. A lot of the island nations will no longer be there. A lot of the coastline will no longer be there. Say goodbye to Florida. Say goodbye to Palm Beach. Say goodbye to Mar-a-Lago, interestingly enough. But by the time all that happens, Donald Trump and the rest of these climate deniers and the rest of these extremely wealthy CEOs, they'll be dead. So they don't care. They literally don't care. Hey, that's your problem. Sickening, man. I cannot stress enough how dangerous this is. I mean, he's literally putting his ridiculous rhetoric into action while the planet burns. And that's really a metaphor to all these rich, wealthy CEOs in the fossil fuel industry and all these right-wing climate deniers. They're just setting the house on fire, and they're leaving out the back door. Your problem now. He's a menace to the planet. They all are. And I'm afraid, I have a real fear that we're not going to be able to recover in time after his disaster of a presidency is over. The damage that we are doing right now to not only the environment, but also to the government's response to climate change, to this catastrophe. Man, I'm worried that we're just not going to be in time. And that's sad. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.